I don't have a real entertaining background here in my kitchen. I apologize.
You can always blur ours out. No,
I told my
no,
friends
you're
I'm
good.
just going to grab a Marine Corps flag and drape it over my shoulders
Uh,
and see where
The
that
one
goes.
that's in the middle of the hall, that one.
Yeah.
Wear it like Superman's cape.
What's up, Herostock Nation?
Hey, everyone. Welcome to Herostock Nation Podcast. I'm Tom Lamog, and I am sitting in for our good friend, our busy guy, the president, Jason Steiner, so he can take care of focusing on all the things that need to be done in advance of the big events that are coming up. About 38 days from now, the Ashland concerts are going to be taking place. Rock night, country night. So he's off doing some real important things to take care of business, and he's kind of entrusted me to take care of the podcast at least up until that time. Anyway, also, you're probably going to notice that Anthony has been away as well too. He's recovering from some health issues, and we'd like to wish him well. I'd like to take a moment right now to introduce you to my new co-host in today's episode, and that is Matthew Jones, who I
What is
seem to know
going
pretty
on,
well.
Tom?
It's like I've seen you before, but I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember where.
maybe a little bit.
Yeah, maybe some other podcast, I suppose. But hey, Matt, it's great to have you. Thank you for giving the go ahead to say, yeah, I'm all in for this podcast co-hosting duties. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I mean, it's a little hot here in Nebraska. My car today was like 99,
Oh,
so
that's it.
it's
Just
a little. Well, I mean, in the car. um, but no, it's been a good day. I'm super excited to get an opportunity to kind of talk and share Hero Stock with our listeners and those who maybe have never heard of Hero Stock before and never been to an event. I'm super excited. This is awesome.
Well, let me first of all introduce you to everyone. If in fact you don't know Matt, Matt's a U.S. Army veteran of nearly 13 years, including 2 deployments to Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom, 2007 and 8, and again in 2009 and 10. Matt's also a singer-songwriter who performs all over Nebraska, and he's been known to actually play a couple of different places across the U.S. as well, too. You may recognize him. He's won a award recently through the Veterans Administration's National Creative Arts Competition. And was that for songwriting?
It was so the VA puts on this National Creative Arts Festival every year, and it's all these different art styles from painting and writing to music and sculptures. It's really really cool. So it was for an original piece that I had written called "Ghost in My Hometown." It won me first place in Omaha, and then from there it went to a national panel of judges who are outside of the VA, but they're steeped inside the arts. They determined that they really liked it, and they gave it a first place, and the VA flew me out to Denver for a week, and it was just an action-packed week. I learned so much. I met so many really, really cool people, and I can't wait to get back.
What an
I'm
honor.
I'm gonna write some more music, and I wanna step on that stage with those guys again. So
Yeah, I
really, really
noticed.
cool.
Yeah, I noticed too that I believe they're accepting submissions for this year's competition, I think until August, I think. So it's not too late if you got something written.
Well, I'm working on it.
Okay. All right. Real good, Matt. Well, I want to also, let's see, let you know that, if in the event Matt's not around, I got someone else who will be able to step into the co-host place, and that'll be Derek Thompson. By the way, whom we will likely see next week with Derek Stoner, as they are two guest performers that'll be appearing at the upcoming Stars and Stripes Music Festival on the 26th of July. So you want to check that out. It's going to be in Lincoln over at the Icebox. What I want to do is introduce our next guest, our first guest, actually, which
Yeah, no pressure, right?
it sounds kind of funny. I hear that voice. But first, about this podcast, it's about 6 weeks to go until the big Herostock concert series takes place, and we've got 6 weeks of episodes lined up. And how are we going to fill those 6 weeks? Well, both Matt and I have been going out there trying to find people to speak with who support, who contribute, who've experienced the Herostock mission itself. We've talked to a number of bands, singer-songwriters, performers who are going to be joining us. We've got them to say, yes, we definitely want to talk. We've got some individuals, prominent individuals who've served in the military, some as first responders that we've heard back from, and they want to come on the show as well, too. And then, of course, we've got sponsors who have helped Jason get Herostock where it needs to be in terms of success or position for success. And we're going to be talking with one of those respected sponsors here shortly. But Matt, is there anything that I missed here? Is what we're going to hopefully cover this hour?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much summed it up. I mean, anything you don't know about me, come to Herostock and meet me. Come to Herostock and meet everybody. It is amazing.
It really is.
I'll tell you that, when I got out of the military, it was a difficult transition going from, an Army soldier to just a normal person again, So when that happened, it was difficult. I had a hard time finding a place that I could, kind of call home, a place where I belonged. And one day, Jason Steiner called me and said, "Hey, I got something I think you might be interested in. What do you think?" And guys, I found home. Herostock's a home for everybody. First responders, veterans, Gold Star families, the community itself, the people you get out and interact with. It's such an amazing experience, and I can't wait.
You can't wait. I was the same way. When Jason invited me, and it's like, all right, what am I getting myself into? Boy, oh boy. I'll just say this. I'm coming back. I liked it that much. It was that much of a pleasant surprise, and there's so much to talk about it. But rather than hearing it from me, let's go ahead and start talking to some people who have had firsthand experience in dealing with Jason and helping out the Herostock mission itself. So right now, I'd like to introduce our first guest, and he is, as I had mentioned before, a major sponsor. You'll see them hosting events that support the Herostock mission, invite veteran musicians to perform, has a tremendous amount of loyalty and respect from their customers and business partners that have really been built over the years, the many, many years. I'd like you to meet Paul Kavulak. Did I get it right? Am I close? Did I?
You nailed it. You're one of the few.
I know you told me it's like a million ways to pronounce it, and I've been practicing it since you actually shared that with me earlier this morning when we spoke. I thought, it's going to be something I'm going to trip over, but I'm glad don't ask me to say this 3 times fast because
right.
I'll probably edit it out. Paul, it's great to have you. Paul is from Nebraska Brewing Company in La Vista, where he and his wife Kim are owners, operators, and lead an incredible team of, quote, from their side, talented, motivated, and all-around better than average craft beer fanatics dedicated to making the world safe for awesome beer. And with summer here, there's a real need to have that safe zone, Paul. So thank you for establishing that. How are you today, Paul?
I'm doing great, and that's a hell of an intro, man. I don't know if my little dialogue here is going to keep up with it, but thank you guys so much for having me on.
You bet you'll do just fine because we know how you can get. We know how I remember how much fun I had over meeting you for the first time, and just all of the things that you had going on the day that it was both Jason and myself. We'd showed up and it was kind of like, God, this is so cool. This is so very cool. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about yourself. I know you as the owner, with your wife taking care of business over at Nebraska Brewing Company, but there's more to that, obviously. Maybe you can give yourself a proper introduction.
Sure. Well, I'm Paul Kavulak, and as you mentioned, my wife and I we started Nebraska Brewing Company, and that was in 2007. And prior to that, I'm military. I am Marine Corps, and if I recall the night we met each other, I was very glad to be around fellow veterans, and we finished our little get together with
Yeah.
um, the idiot that had the brewery standing up and say, "Okay, man, we got a bond. Let's punch each other in the chest." And after we did that, I thought, well, geez, I wonder if how any of them had heart conditions or, so we were in the moment, but
Yeah, it's really funny. I haven't forgotten that. I felt honored, and I thought, well, wait a minute. Jason had to speak up. Wait a minute. He's the son of he's the son of a Marine. He goes, no matter, get over here. Boom. And I thought, I wonder how, because we had Brian Roof there with us, and he's pretty
yeah,
big. He's a pretty big dude. And I thought to myself, are you sure you want to do this? But yeah, it was a real pleasure. I had a great time. It was kind of like the day after the last day of Hero Stock, and I got to meet you, and you showed off the brewery itself, the selection of brews that you had on your menu, and of course the games. I thought I want to come back. I definitely want to come back. Um, can you tell us a little bit before we go into your business and into your life at NBC? Maybe a little bit about the Marine Corps itself. Is there something that you want to share about your service? I mean, personally, I checked out some of the things that were on your social sites, and I found I want to say a linguist was what stood out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
sure. So I come from a long line of military, and of course, I tolerate the other branches, but we have quite a few Marines in there. And I don't think I would rate as a Gold Star family, but my father, he lost his brother in Quang Tri, Vietnam. He was a Marine as well, and you go back another generation, and we lost an Army gentleman who got hit by a sniper in the Philippines, and but yeah, my MOS was it's some absurdly long title. It's like ground intelligence, signals warfare, signals intelligence, ground electronic warfare. And I was an Arabic linguist with a Syrian dialect. So um, I've got a great bunch of friends that are, a couple of them are linguists, and quite a few of them are Morse code. But we were all Intel, which is the supreme oxymoron of the Marine Corps, Marine Corps Intel. Um, we were peacetime Marines, which I just found out the other day after talking to the DAV and the VA that my era was 83 to 87.
Mhm.
So while there were different events going on like Grenada, Beirut, it wasn't called a wartime era. So um, I got deployed to the Middle East, well, the Mediterranean,
Mhm.
and our job was to we wound up participating in landings, but they were drills, and for the most part, we sat offshore and um, used the headphones that you guys have on, and wound up as a disabled vet because of that. And it'll take your hearing at some point, but I was more than thrilled to serve and honor who we are as vets and make sure that the family and friends that we left home were safe and secure.
How do you study for something like that?
Um, it's kind of funny. And oddly enough, there's a couple of us that went in for avionics, and you get into boot camp, and they give you these tests, and you're sitting there, you don't know what the tests are for, and um, the Marine Corps is a little um, interesting when it comes to discipline and doing what they say. And of course, in San Diego, there's the grinder. You get out there and you practice drill, and that's no man's land. If you screw up out there, you're a dead man. And I got called into the DI hut, and they said, "Hey, there's a master sergeant wants to talk to you about your scores." And they asked me if I wanted to talk to them, and I said sure. And they said, okay, you got to walk across the grinder, and you're going to go to the other side of the grinder where there's all these little buildings. And they took me to the window, which was odd. They were talking to me instead of screaming. And they said, okay, when you get out there, they said you're gonna have DIs ready to rip you to shreds, and you just keep going, and you keep going, and you ignore them, and so I get on the I'd call it the safe edge of the grinder, before you enter no man's land, and I decide to set out, and I'm completely alone, and so I set off at a brisk pace, and here come the DIs, man. They're not around me. They're mainly with their platoons. They're taking care of their squads, but they are screaming. What the fork are you doing out here? And um, after it was over, I kind of realized that okay, they've done this before. They've seen these lone guys that aren't deserting, but they're heading to these huts over there. So I get over there and I get to the hut, and they told me which one to go to. Of course, I got lost at first, and I pounded on the hatch, and a corporal comes out. He says, "Hey, come on in. Would you like a Coke or a Pepsi?" And I'm like, "What is going on here?" And so he sat me down. He said, "Hey, the master sergeant's going to talk to you about doing something different than what you signed up for." And I had this real casual conversation with the top, and he said they wanted to send me to language school. So language school was 18 months, and he said, "Well, you're only in for a 3-year enlistment, so we want to get 4 years total out of you. So you're going to have to extend." And I'm like, I just got to boot camp, and you want me to extend?
Wow.
And he says, "You know what? I get it." He says, "You go back to the squad bay and you think about it. You come back tomorrow." So I go back the next day, and I'm kind of set against it. And I do the whole thing all over again. I get back with him. I have my little Coca-Cola, and he's explaining it to me. And he says, "Okay, we want to send you. Here's the languages that we want you we think you can handle." And they weren't the easier ones. And he said, "We want you to go for Arabic." And I'm still kind of internally shaking my head no. And he goes, "Well, school is in Monterey, California." And I was like, "Holy shit, where do I sign?" So
Oh
yeah,
boy, they got
the,
you. Boy,
the
what a
basic
sales
language
pitch.
part of it was 18 months, and then you go down to Goodfellow Air Force Base, and you learn. That's where you start to learn the top secret stuff, and then they send you to the fleet.
Man, oh man, what a story. And you were able to obviously put it to use for the length of time that you served.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get out your career path, if you want to stay in the Corps, you do different things like become an analyst, and I wound up at Lejeune, by the way, and my first choice was Hawaii, and I listed Hawaii 3 times, and they sent me to Lejeune. And toward the end there were a lot of guys in our battalion that were pursuing college.
Mhm.
So that was my goal, and your career path was outside of the military. You could still kind of deal with the government, and the CIA was right there with a catcher's mitt, ready to get these guys. And but I stuck true, and went home and got a degree, and then I wound up in corporate life, and you know, life intervenes, and before you know it, you're contemplating what you're really going to do. And I met my wife Kim, and then at some point we had this foolish notion that we're going to open a brewery, and here we are.
Not foolish.
Yeah, right.
Not foolish at all.
Hey, we need that safe zone for awesome beer. I'm glad that you stuck with it. Was there anything from the military that you still hold near and dear today?
I When I got out, it's odd because you tell the transition story, and mine. I got out of the Marine Corps, and I thought, okay, I'm a Marine. I'm always going to be a Marine. But I went back to my home in Omaha, Nebraska, and just kind of fell into the routine. A couple old friends, I would chat with and hang out. I was going to college, but I got back, and there was no military around me. And for years, yeah, people knew I was a Marine, and occasionally we'd talk about it. For what it's worth, I always um, yeah, always would try to translate Voice of America, any Arabic I could get, I would personally keep up with. I never went back to school for Arabic. Um, but then later, and this is where things finally hit home. We opened our brewery and we were still doing our thing. Of course, I had that part of my past behind me as far as being active. And then at some point, I don't even know the initial trigger, but we learned, well, there were a lot of Marines that paid attention to our brewery. We're right outside of Strategic Air Command, and there were Marine detachments. So of course the Marines gravitated to us. And at some point, somebody kind of said, "Hey, we could use some help." Um, and I thought, well, okay, what kind of help are you looking for? And then the light bulb went on way late, and I thought, I can help. We've got this public venue, we've got an ability to do things to help us, to help our veterans, and it snowballed from there, literally. And we did a lot of things for the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps loved us. So uh, uh, there were primarily a lot of officers from Stratcom, and of course my buds were the enlisted guys. And then before you know it, I have all these officer friends. And one day, and this should have enlightened me kind of before it happened, but we have a colonel that was here. He's retiring here, Kirk Bruno, and so they're gonna hold a retirement after party at our original tap or brew pub,
Mhm.
and freaking Mattis was the gentleman that retired him. And so Mattis shows up in,
Mhm.
in the brew pub wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and he's got his guys with Uzis walking around the brewery. And I'm like, holy shit. You guys, the universe brought this to me, and our little group. And after that, we started to connect with a lot of these different groups, and I have a little notepad. I didn't keep score until it was another press opportunity a few years back, and they said, "Well, how many different organizations have you worked with?" And so I didn't know, honestly. So I went back and I started looking over notes, and at the time there were 14, and that we don't necessarily help routinely.
Mhm.
Uh, but when people raise a hand or they need help, we're there for them. And that list has grown beyond that, and that's kind of how we stumbled into Jason and Herostock. We helped another group locally, Herostock, and Herostock was in its infancy. I think it was in their second year, and Jay Morales, somehow we got a meeting with Jay, and his little he had a very small group at the time. And he walked up, and before he even got his pitch out of his mouth, my wife is like, hell yeah, we're in. So we kind of did what we could. We're the landing for the 50-mile march, and we donate all the infrastructure, whatever we can. And through that conversation and that friendship, they then said, "Hey, there's this other guy, Jason. He's got this entity that he's trying to get some traction in, and it's Hero Stock, and you should meet with him." So we did, and I remember the first awkward meeting. We're sitting there. He's like, "I need help," and I'm like, "I can give you help." And we sat there and went, "Okay, what the hell do we do with this?" And so here we are. And I don't know that we've got any true structure, but when he needs help, we pitch in. And we've done his smoke off, and we're going to do another one here this year. And that's
Yeah,
how we
you've had
met.
a number of partnerships with him in the way of events. I mean, I've seen some of the like some of the entertainers that are tied into Hero Stock come out and perform at your place, along with the barbecue events, the smoke off, of course. But yeah, you guys are not only heavily involved with at least Jason's world, but there's a lot of things that I saw on your social media sites where people in the community do come to you and they look for your help, and you're always there for them. Am I right? Am I close?
No, you're right, and we do it. We do it because we want to. And
Mhm.
when the reciprocity develops, it's heartwarming. And we realize that not only are we there to help, but we're a part of their world. And when you step back a little bit, I've realized that we're part of a much larger fabric. And the fabric is, of course, Nebraska, Midwest. And when you step back even further, you realize that it's national. And not that everybody knows us, and nor do we want to be known, but we're here, and we're part of our world.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and turn the conversation more towards some of the products, some of the beverages, some of the things that you'll find that are really distinct over at your brewery. First of all, the menu itself, maybe you can talk a little bit about what, like, if say, for instance, and this has happened to me before, I'm new, I'm walking into the Nebraska Brewing Company, I take a look at the menu, it's like, so how do you
I've
typically
never
buy?
been there. What do I expect?
Oh, see, you got two newbies here that
Yeah. Well, the first thing will, you walk up to the bar, and of
I'm
course,
in.
yeah, right.
I'm in.
There's 40 beers that we make, and those beers, and they include NA beers, but we make them, and it is overwhelming, and we fully understand that. And for years, we were all about craft beer. That let's make the biggest, boldest, most extravagant beer, and didn't take too long, but we realized that we were missing the connection with the average consumer, that we need to pull up through the ranks, or at least entertained at the point where they're not going to just have one and go home. And the bartenders will ask you, what do you normally drink? And in the beer realm, we have a full bar too, but we're trying to get you interested in our own beer. And when you give us an indication of what you normally enjoy, we'll steer you to the few that we make that are in that same space. And of course, we also have samplers and all that stuff too. But when we first opened, my business plan had 4 beers in the plan, and that was it, man. That's all it's ever going to take. And right now we have 40 on tap. And in the course of a year, because we do seasonals and one-offs and little experiments, you might see 100 over the year. And are all of them exceptional? Well, probably not. But they're good enough to make us smile. And the others that are exceptional have done very well for us. They've won quite a few medals.
how do you kind of, like, say for instance, okay, well, I'll use me as an example, and Matt, you jump in anytime. I enjoy drinking Guinness, and I look at the list of beers that you have on the border, all the things that you offer, and it's like, how do you steer someone towards making a good choice from that 40 to 100 beers that you got listed?
Yeah, so if Guinness is your target, you're looking for something um, pretty much richly malty, flavorful, dark in color, and the bartenders know that we've got a handful of those, so they'll give you a sample. We don't expect you to commit to a full pint and spend the money, and there's no limit on samples. And we've seen it happen where even regulars come in and go, "Oh, I haven't had that one." I'm like, "Okay, you had that one yesterday." But we do what we can to make sure that you're happy with what you're gonna consume, and then you know take your beer, wind up at a table, go play some pinball, sit on the patio. Hopefully, if it's one of those great days, you got some live music that you can listen to and have a good time.
Oh, I love the idea that, Matt, I know you've got questions. I'm
I
gonna,
do.
I'm gonna, I'm
I
gonna
do.
defer to you right now because I've got
So,
my questions answered.
so the first thing I thought of when you said 40 beers, okay, I was Army engineer, and we have a little song we sing that says, "We are, we are, we are the engineers. We can demolish 40 beers." So
Oh, no
challenge
kidding.
accepted. Um, and so my main what I think is the most important question here is, if one of us in this room was a bourbon drinker, would you hold it against them?
Tough
Well,
questions.
and I think I've waved this in front of you before, but as a
I
brewer,
want you to tell the listeners.
yeah, as a brewer, I love beer, and that's why we're here. I started experimenting brewing beer in '92, which seems like yesterday, but when you actually do the numbers, you're like, wow, one of us is old, and it's not me. Um, but we do have bourbons, whiskeys, full bar.
Oh,
This happens to be Four Roses, so not a bad way to finish the day chatting with you fine people.
oh, well, does
You
that
said
answer your
80.
question, Matt?
It does. It does.
Definitely.
I want the listeners to know you don't just have to love beer. You can come and you can have bourbon.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Yeah, mixed drinks.
um, absolutely.
true. Something about
Um,
seltzers too. Wait a minute. Did I see
yeah,
something
I heard
about
about
Paul?
seltzers.
Yeah, so when this whole shift in craft beer started to emerge, there were a number of things that started to push against craft beer, and it was seltzers and NAs, non-alcoholic beers. Um, so foolishly, I ignored the seltzer movement for quite some time. And then honestly, after White Claw and all of these other big guys really gained traction, and not just us, then the brewers were like, oh gosh, people are buying that stuff, so we got to make, a seltzer. And we did, and we still do. So we jumped in and we packaged it and we tried to compete in the marketplace, and there really is no competing with White Claw when you're making a seltzer.
Mm.
Um, and then as COVID hit, and then that created this interesting little laws began to get relaxed so that brewers could survive. So we were able to sell beer to go. We were able to sell mixed drinks in a can, which honestly, I guess I'd have to know the law a little bit better, but I don't think that was possible before COVID. And then they relaxed that. So we were putting mixed drinks in a can. So it's called an RTD, ready to drink. And, not only did we do it, it helped us get through that phase, but the big guys really kind of said, wow, we're going to do that too. So that pushed against craft beer even further. And so there's a wave of things that were, moving craft beer, I wouldn't say into the background, but they didn't have the prominence they used to have. And, if you're not diversifying, if you're not embracing that as a brewer, you're going to have a hard day. And now THC and CBD beverages and I paid attention to Doc Talk for a while. I still read his posts, but I didn't understand what he was all about until I listened to one of his podcasts, and then I went, oh, the therapeutic side of THC and what's going on there, and there's a universe that you got to open your eyes, and it's not just about the beer.
This is a far cry from studying language, isn't
Yeah,
it?
right.
I mean, there's a lot of, I'm sure that kind of puts you on the path of, okay, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading and researching. um, I don't know if that's the case. Is that really what it takes to be a brewer, is to actually, there's a lot of science in it. There's a lot of study and reading and all that. Is that all part of your responsibility?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've never discussed this that much that I know of. But when I exited the military, then I found a pretty clear and easy path into IT and computers and especially telecommunications. And so we in the military, we're playing with satellites, we're doing a lot with radios, and I think that was kind of what kept me on that path. Um, and then the IT universe embraced me and said, "Well, you can. Looks like you can manage, and you're kind of good at this telecommunication stuff." And so I rose, through the ranks, and it took years, but I wound up with a couple telecommunications patents for the company I worked with. I had a very large team, and my wife, if she was here right now, she'd be in my face. So I had a team that was in the hundreds when I finally exited IT, and she says that you don't have that anymore. You have me. So it's not the same. And she constantly reminds me I can't delegate as much as I'd like to. But
No,
um, so
no.
the initial part of brewing was just like you said, it was numbers, and it was, hitting your goals, hitting your targets. And sure, you want to make a beverage at the end of the day that is drinkable. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of friends that they stuck with me, but they shouldn't have, because they were forced to drink some crap, man.
What are friends for?
Yeah, right.
Oh man,
Wow.
I
Is
can
there a
just see him right
favorite?
now, taking a drink, and you're going, "Oh,
Yeah.
don't do that."
Yeah, right.
Wait. Is there a
Yeah.
favorite amongst, well, first of all, is there a favorite that you have of any of the beers that you have brewed and crafted and invented? First of all, for you, one that stands out that we should maybe try when we all
Yeah.
come out there.
It's like a story that's been told too often. When I started brewing beer, I thought, man, if I ever if I ever go into business, I'm going to name it after my grandparents' bar from South Omaha, and that was the Cardinal Bar. So I was enamored with Sierra Nevada Pale Ale back in the day. There weren't a lot of craft beers. Yeah, Dixie Black and Voodoo, Pete's Wicked Ale. Sierra Nevada was out there, and I really enjoyed that. So I thought, wow, I want to make a beer. I don't want to clone it, but I want to make a beer that's in this space.
Mhm.
And I hate telling the story again because people are bored by it anymore. But I
No, this
was
is the first time for our audience.
Yeah.
yeah,
Go for it, dude.
I was brewing this beer for like, I don't know, the 10th time. And I was very discouraged that I wasn't getting the nose. I wasn't getting the aroma that I wanted.
Mhm.
And I came home one day and then, on the last attempt, and I was still in my suit from work. And I walked downstairs and in my basement, I had established my own little brewery. And I opened the top of the fermenter and I smelled the beer and I was like, son of a bitch, it's not where it needs to be. And I was pretty disgusted. And I don't know if I had a long day or whatever, but in my mind's eye, I was already pushing this fermenter over into the drain. And I thought, well, it'll just be a horrible mess. So I went to the freezer where I had the leaf hops, and I just took everything I had left because I was done, and I dumped this particular hop onto the top of the vat. And frankly, I don't know why I put it in the vat instead of putting it in the garbage can, but I threw the lid back on it as I was leaving, and I didn't seal it down. But carbon dioxide pushes the air out. 2 weeks later, I finally went, gosh dang it, I got to go down there and clean up the mess. So I went down there and I pulled this lid off and I went, holy shit, that's it.
The nose
So,
you're looking for.
followed by panic because I didn't know how much went in there. But yeah, so I was able,
Honey.
Oh, man.
fortunately, I had kept enough notes that I knew what came out of the bag. So I knew what was left. And I decided to finish the beer and filtered it. And I remember the moment I held it up to the light and I went, holy crap, I can sell this. And that's Cardinal Pale Ale. And that's how we went down the path of opening a brewery.
So Matt, mental note, when we meet up there, we that's what we need to order.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was
God.
gonna say those are called happy little accidents.
Yeah. And I'm sure the industry is full of them, but that was mine.
That's awesome.
Is there what is it? Do you have like a favorite ingredient that you like working with? Can you even talk about that, or is that like top secret?
Trade secrets. Or...
No, it's
Is there anything that you would really enjoy, working with in the way of ingredients?
well, there's malted barley, of course, and that I can never say anything simple, but malted barley and the way it goes into a beer, you can pretty much predict where you want to be, and that's fine. But the subtleties of you don't know where this is going to land are, how much of this particular aromatic you want to introduce. What does this yeast strain do when it's fermented, not at its proper temperature, and when those variables are involved, that's the fun that I kind of get out of it.
Mhm.
And sure, we go where the sales are at too. The industry is there are many different facets where consumers are out there buying. They're still, vigorously pursuing this particular style. And I wouldn't say, well, in the early days, we weren't an early adopter. We were the innovator, and we created facets in the industry. And as the industry grew, there's this tidal wave of breweries that are doing the same thing. So it was very difficult to be an innovator in all of that. So you kind of had to carve out where you wanted to play. And, we're still there. We're still innovating. And I think the things we're doing now are pretty cool, and few new beers went out this week that are, the aromatics are more in line with where the modern consumer's at too. So that's pretty cool.
I do have a question for you, and it
Sure.
just came from all this beer talk. So I don't drink a lot of beer. I will occasionally choke down a Rolling Rock or something.
Nice.
But what about mead? Have you guys thought about meads? Those are super good.
Yeah, we haven't done it commercially, but part of that whole experimentation era before I started professionally brewing, I did a lot with meads in the early days. And Nebraska's got a lot of great um, honey. And what was interesting with that is I would make in 2 gallon, little jars, which were fermenters, um, the starters, and then I would introduce 6 or 8 different yeast strains. And that was the cool part of, okay, you can make a mead. You can make it with this yeast or that yeast, but when you start to throw an array of different strains at it, you find out that there's one that, man, you hadn't considered that previously, but because you just experimented with it and you put it up against the others, that's where it was cool. And the difficulty we had as a brewery is that was a lot of honey that would go into the volumes we were making. So we chose not to go down that path. I had some friends that did make some great stuff, but that wasn't our critical path, I think.
Okay, that's interesting because I mean, I like meads. I don't drink them a whole lot, but if I had to have a choice between a beer or a mead, I'd probably mead.
Sure. Yeah. And, a lot of the guys that started up back in the day, they went on to do different things for whatever it's worth. And I apologize to the Nebraska industry. I'm honestly unaware of any meaderies that are still out there, which is unfortunate. I hope they're not watching this podcast. But um, what seems to have come in their place, though, were all the cideries. The cideries, the apples and the orchards around here. They began to gather steam, and they're the stronger one, I think, when it comes to mead versus ciders.
Okay.
Yeah, changing
Good to know.
interests, Is there one thing that you really enjoy most? There's so many great things that we're talking about here, but is there something that you really enjoy most about being the owner of a brewery?
I, you know, I think that's a pretty easy answer, and it's
Other than the beer?
yeah. Other than the beer, it's
You can include that
uh,
as well. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about so many great things. It's like, I know how do you pick, but if you were to pick one, is there something that stands out as being, this is great. I love this.
I think when I put my brain back to thinking about the Cardinal Bar and my early childhood, and they they let me go into the bar. Of course, they'd sit me in a special chair and serve me 7 Up. And I remember my grandmother chasing people out when they would cuss around me. But that was family, and my uncles were there. Um, of course, my parents, the family was there, and now we've developed this brewery, and we got the family around us, and our 2 boys work with us. Of course, my wife, her mom, um, most of her siblings and relatives have either worked there or still do, and to some extent. Our daughter worked there for quite some time, and then she went to work for OPPD, and found her way out. But before I came here, we were just hanging out together. We had a great friend of ours that had just interviewed for another job at OPPD, so the family is gathered, and I think the ability to create a business where the family's involved, I think that's really where it's at.
And it's
That's
been
awesome.
running since 2007. Is that what you said?
Yeah, '07 is when we opened, but the poor kids were forced to endure it for the years where the horrible stuff, and of course they never drank it, right? But they will tell you the story of the first time they ever got into our beer. And for what it's worth, I didn't know this had happened. And at some point, the 2 boys decide they're going to take some beer, right? And they're going to run outside and drink it with their friends. Well, they grabbed an India Pale Ale, and I think it was good that they did, because it turned them off to beer for years after that. They're like, "Oh, this is horrible. Why would anybody want to do this?" And yeah, that was
Wow. Was that
it.
planned? That must have been planned.
I
Gosh.
get to hear all the stories well after the fact, and I just shake my head. But I guess it happens. I did it, I guess.
I got one last question for you, and then we'll let you go. Are you going to Hero Stock this year?
Well, I absolutely plan to. And last year, and I think it happened this year again. I think the 50-mile march and Hero Stock are on the same darn day again.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that,
Mhm.
and again, I'm sure Jay and the crew. My wife is on the board of 50 Mile, by the way. So
Oh,
uh,
okay.
we, if she was here, she'd be
Do
smacking me
we
over
need
the
to
head, because
talk to her?
Oh,
I
wait a
should know
minute.
the dates.
Just so you know, it is like from I think it's 5. Gates open at 4 p.m. and it runs from 5 to 11. So
There has to be some
go
way
for
that
it.
I can at least, dabble in both. And for what it's worth, the 50-mile March Landing is, it's very demanding. Of course, it takes days to set up and get ready. And when those marchers come in, it's literally the walking wounded. And, we do our best to take care of them first. They've got their own support teams, but
You guys dealt with the heat too last year.
yeah, the heat's horrible, and they expect the same this year. They changed the route too, so the route it involves some gravel, and I think gravel's going to have some challenges that they're thinking about, but I think it's going to be, my opinion is it's going to be a little bit more than they expect, with little pebbles getting in the shoes, and feet that have already got blisters and everything. But the answer to the question is I absolutely intend to, and I'm going to figure out how to make it work one way or the other. I won't be able to stay for the whole thing, but at least I can show up, show some love and get on to my mission.
Oh, for sure. 2 night event, Friday and Saturday.
Well, then, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Then
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I'll be there the first day for sure.
I will look for you. It's Rock Night. So Rock Night is the 22nd, and the 23rd is Country Night. And I believe the gates open on both days at 4 p.m. and the shows start at 5, and it runs all the way through 11. So you can party with us.
Hell yeah, I can't miss it.
All right.
I got one question. That's the only
Yeah,
one
go
I don't
for it.
think has been asked, and I got to know because I'm a musician. What is your favorite type of music?
It's
It
funny. I
has
was
to be.
going to ask you guys if my music was too loud. Um, I guess it's eclectic, but I've gravitated. Stevie Ray Vaughan was what was playing in the background when we started this thing.
Mm.
Um, and before that, it was Pink Floyd. We
I couldn't hear that.
Yeah, well, that's good. I didn't want to interrupt, but I, we moved homes a couple years ago, and now I'm literally just getting through all of the music and trying to, catalog everything. But the stuff I grab is classic rock. And now you probably heard that my wife, who missed everything earlier, is now here to smack me in the head. But I love country. I love my stations that I listen to every day: 96.9 KZKX, 103.7, and I enjoy newer country, but I still really get into, take me back a few years and Toby Keith, and those types of thing. And Toby Keith
Oh,
had the CD player going all day yesterday, and I just love that stuff.
I
No,
seem to remember you posting something about either you're going into a vinyl shop or I was going into a vinyl shop, and it's like, here's what I'm going to get. I think I ended up getting like the vinyl pressing of Dark Side of the Moon.
That's exactly what I was listening to about an hour ago.
oh man.
It is true. There's a reason why that was like the biggest selling album of all time until, The Wall or something like that from Michael Jackson. But yeah, got to put the headphones on or just crank it up in my truck. And yeah, repeat, repeat, repeat.
And it's interesting because I'm looking at 400 CDs right now, and trying to make sense of what goes where, and as you encounter them, throw them in the CD player. And what's really interesting is they started to gather dust when the other music formats emerged, and you pay a couple dollars a month and you have Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you want, and it's unfortunate that those got neglected, because now that I'm going back and kind of rediscovering, not only was I already an LP aficionado, now I've got these CDs that are, it's like, holy crap, man. And I had great taste in music. I want to get back to it.
I'm there with you, dude. I was a rock disc jockey and I was always around vinyl. So when the CD came out, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then we got kind of suckered into giving up our vinyl collections. It's like, looking back at that, it's like, God, I wish I saved some of that stuff because they're not to be found on any of the streaming services right now for whatever reason. It's
Yep.
like, gosh, I was kicking myself for that.
I got my old turntable at work, and we got vinyl up there, and I don't know if it was because of the military, but I cannot be in a room without music. It just, something is wrong if there's no music playing in the background or prominently in the foreground. And, as I mentioned before, I got this little hearing problem because of the military. So I love to play my music loud. And, the people around me are like, turn the shit down.
I can only
That's
imagine
not
that you
music.
you've got it cranked to 11 over in the brewery. I would imagine it's got 11 because that would be wonderfully ambient. How if you were to put like this incredible surround sound system, I mean, maybe you already have it there, and turn on Dark Side of the Moon.
Well, that's where I'm headed next. I have my system that my wife and I put together years ago. It's not a low end system. And now, because I'm putting everything back together, downstairs is where it's at. So that's where we're going to finish up tonight, listening to some of this good stuff.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, we will let you go then. It's been wonderful talking with you, Paul.
Absolutely.
For me, it's been like a
Thank you
year.
very much, gentlemen.
Yeah, since we had seen you. And thank you for sharing the little bit of information that you have about yourself and about the brewery and the people who actually keep it running and successful. I'm looking forward to coming there next month and checking it out. And thanks again for, sponsoring Herostock Nation as well, too.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
you.
Yep.
We'll catch you later.
What's up, Herostock Nation? July 26th, the Lincoln Stars in Herostock, we're partnering up to bring you 4 amazing bands. We have Briella Steiner, we have Derek Thompson, we have Derek Stoner coming in from Nashville, and we have the amazing Trainer Band. Come on down to the Icebox, 4 o'clock to 10 p.m. We're going to rock your face off. Let's go! What's up, Herostock Nation? August 22nd, Country Drive Golf Course, we're bringing you 4 amazing rock bands. Our first one to kick off, we have Deliberately Broken coming in out of Texas. We have Die Tired coming in out of Pennsylvania. We have Gallivant, which is a local band here to Omaha, and our headliner that night is Lockjaw. Gates open at 4 p.m. We're going to run till 11. It's going to be an amazing time. Head on out to Country Drive. Let's go! What's up, Herostock Nation? August 23rd, Country Drive Golf Course, we have 4 amazing bands coming in. We have Kimberly Meyer, we have South of Center, we have the Trainer Band, and headlining that night, we have LV Shane. It's going to be an amazing night. Gates open at 4, we run till 11 o'clock. Grab your tickets, head on out to Country Drive, and come hang with us. Let's go!
Well, hey, that is a definite go-to place when we're there in.
That was a lot easier than what I thought.
Yeah, it really went. Well, Paul is just a great guy, just a great guy. Has all obviously a lot of stories to tell and a lot of beer to share as well too. So we'll be going there next stop. So in closing, if you're a veteran, a first responder, Gold Star family member with a story to share and you'd like to be on our podcast, we'd love hearing from you. Get the word out about our podcast. We're going to be airing them on Reads Across America every Thursday on their radio station. It's also going to be available on the herostock.org website under the podcast section. Or maybe it'll be a little different after we're done tonight. You can also catch us streaming on all of the major platforms. Some of the older episodes are out there, but we're definitely going to continue to update the website. The next podcast, you want to share who's going to be on the next podcast, my friend?
I got to find my notes.
You find your notes? Well, there are 2 Dereks.
We'll let you, the 2 Dereks.
There are 2 Dereks that are going to be joining us, Derek Stoner and Derek Thompson. Both of them made an appearance. What do you recall last year when they both performed? Because they performed at different times.
I'll say just my experience from last year, listening to Derek Thompson get up there and play and sing and man, there's so much passion in music when it comes to Derek. And I know Derek's got another guitarist now, BJ Lawson, and both of them are just
they're recording. They're in the studio
blend so well. Amazing people. Derek Stoner. That guy's got a voice, man. Holy smokes.
Oh yeah. Quite commanding presence when he's up there singing. It's just in an acoustic guitar too. And I know that last year Shannon Book had joined him. The 2 of them, both Derek Stoner and Derek Thompson, they are 2 of the 4 acts that will be appearing at the Stars and Stripes Music Festival. The other is the Trainer Band with Tony Trainer, and we hope to be talking with him and maybe his band as well too. And Briella Steiner, who you know as our president, Jason Steiner's daughter, who has just recently put out a video. If you haven't seen it, make sure to check that out on YouTube, and also the Herostock sites as well too. So those are the 4 people that are going to be performing on the 26th of July over at the Icebox in Lincoln, and we're also going to try and get them on next week's program as well too. All right. The other thing is the website. If you didn't know it, we do have a website, www.herostock.org. It's going to tell you where you can find the upcoming events when they're happening. You can also check out some of the sponsors. We've got a page dedicated to that. And most importantly, where to buy your tickets. Because if you're wondering, how do I buy my tickets? You just go to the website, and there are little places you can click. They'll take you right to the purchase site. So anyways, Matt, anything to add?
Let's go.
Let's go. You're ready to do this. Yeah.
I remember last year. I remember everything I saw. I want to see it again. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, man. And then I don't know. Maybe you should bring your guitar next time. Maybe you can kind of.
Yeah. I heard there was a guy there who plays guitar and would like to jam out.
There could be, and we'll have more about this upcoming jam that it's supposed to be taking place. If you play guitar or you sing, there's going to be something special lined up for you between shows, and it's I believe it's the annual jam session between the musicians. So, but we'll tell you.
That's what we're going to call it. It is the annual jam session.
The annual jam.
Bring it.
All right, Matt. All right, everyone. For Herostock Nation, I'm Tom Lamog, and for Matthew Jones as well too. We will both see you next week.
What's up, Herostock Nation? Have you heard about the Community Give Back program? August 22nd, 23rd, our main event at Country Drive Golf Course, we are actually giving back to our community. A portion of the ticket sales will go to a local area nonprofit like the Ashland Fire Department that needs new headsets. We're also giving back to another area nonprofit with those ticket sales. Come on out, grab your tickets, hang with us, and support your community. Let's all grow together. Let's go.